Assalamu alaikum, family, peace, healing, and light, and welcome back to another episode of Healing with Angelica's podcast, where we discuss all things healing. And if you are new to the show, welcome, 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 beautiful souls. On today's episode, we have a beautiful sister joining us today, my sister Janiah X, as we'll be discussing today's topic, the artful craft of journalistic expression. Sister Janiah, how are you? Thank you for joining us today.
I'm good. Praise you to Allah. How are you?
I am well by the grace of Allah. So happy to have you on the show. This is the first new show of the new year. So praise be to Allah. I got my sister on for the first show for the new year. So I'm feeling good.
Thank you for having me. I'm really, really honored and grateful that you asked. So thanks so much.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I've been wanting to have this conversation, but just didn't know exactly who would be the perfect candidate for that conversation. And by the grace of Allah, I thought about you, like my sister. She's a writer. She's a journalist. Let me have her on the show. So, yes, praise be to Allah. Now, for those who do not know who my sister Janiah X is, I will give you all a brief bio. So, Sister Janiah X is a student in the ministry class at Muhammad's Mosque number 29 in Miami, Florida. She is a journalist who contributes to the Final Call newspaper and is the co-founder of Joshua's Truth magazine, an online magazine for Black, Brown, and Indigenous youth. She also works as a special project producer for a local news station in Miami. Our praises is due to Allah. Now let's get started on today's episode, the artful craft of journalistic expression. And please, for my audience today, do not hesitate to put any questions you may have for my guest, Sister Janiah X, in the comment box below. Inshallah, we will strive to get to as many questions as we can. So, as we all know, there are so many different forms of communication, right? But one that has been a lost art is communication through scripting and journaling. I myself have used scripting and journaling to help me channel in my thoughts and express suppressed emotions and trauma, and which has helped me deal with them with so much more ease. However, in this episode, we'll be taking scripting and journaling to a whole new level as my sister Janiah X uses her gift of writing to become a journalist. And that brings me to my first question for you, Sister Janiah. Now, we gotta go all the way back here. We gotta go to the beginning, the root. Like, how did all this start? So take me all the way back to the beginning with what started your journey in becoming a journalist.
Right. So first off, in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, we thank Him for intervening in our affairs in the person of Master Muhammad. We thank Him for the most honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Thank you so much again for having me.
Yes, ma'am.
So the way that it started for me, ever since I can remember, being very, very young, even being like in the third grade, I would always sit by my blue and white bookcase that we had in our room. And I would always just like read the books. We had little books like the Bernstein Bears and little children's books and things like that. So I would always read them. I would take all the books out and I would just read them. And I used to love like pretending that I was the characters, etc. But I always loved storytelling and looking into people's stories. Who was this person? Who did this person want to be? What affected this person? What was this person's life like? And so that really stemmed from my love of reading. And then eventually I discovered, okay, I can draw different people and make up their stories, or I could write my own stories. And so that really spearheaded my journey into writing. It really kicked off, I want to say, in middle school when I had a friend in art class who would write like little comics and have stories to go along with it. And I was like, I want to do that too. So I used to fill up little spiral notebooks with stories and books, and I would have a part 1 and a part 2, etc. And so I just always loved to write. I always loved storytelling. And then getting into journalism, I want to say that one started in high school as I started thinking about my future. And I realized, becoming an author or studying English probably wasn't going to be the most lucrative way to go. So I started to look into journalism. And of course, we had the Final Call newspaper. So, it was like, okay, this could be something that I could get into. So I did an internship at a Black-owned newspaper down here in Miami, the Miami Times. And that kind of clashed my love for storytelling and writing, but also being able to impact people in a very real way through journalism. So that's really how it all started for me.
Oh, wow. I love that. Praise be to Allah. It's always that. And that's why I asked, like, it's always something that kind of like put the into like why someone started. So, going back into that childhood days and we used to read and be by all the books and making stories and stuff. So all praises due to Allah. I love that. So I know we talked, of course, before the show, and you mentioned how being a journalist has helped you connect with certain people in different ways. Now, are there certain topics you like to touch on more than others when it comes to helping people through your writings?
For sure. So when I look at the more issue-based side or more serious topics, a few things that I've been diving more into lately have been like the prison and the jail systems and injustices surrounding that. Some healthcare that affect Black people, and housing issues as well, public housing, affordable housing, things of that nature. And I really love telling stories of people who have persevered through different situations, because we're all going through something, no matter how little or how big it is, we're all dealing with something. And it's always good to hear a story about someone who is dealing with something major, and despite that, they still came out on top, or through their faith or whatever it is that they use to get through it. And it's something that we can all relate to. And it's something that we can all use in our own journeys. So I love stories like that. And I love connecting with people on a deeper level. I feel like I'm naturally a little bit more introverted. Talking to people and approaching people really isn't like my natural, state. But the field that I'm in forces me to. And anytime I do, I'm always very grateful for it because of the interactions that I've been able to have with different people. And, it's not only interviewing them and asking them questions and, just being a journalist, but you're a person, you're a human being. So, you get to learn about who this person is. And it's just so fascinating to me. And you learn a lot through whether it be their point of view, no matter how different they are from you. Their point of view or how they get through what they get through, how they get to the points in life that they do. It's always so enlightening anytime that I get to interview someone or do a story. So yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. I can definitely agree with you on that. Like I said before, even with me starting this podcast, I didn't know where I was going with this. I just know that I had a story to tell and I just wanted to talk to people. But the impact that I've received just listening to other people's story has become healing to me.
Right.
And, even because I thought about this even before this actually happened, naming the podcast Healing with Angelica, not even understanding like this is really what I'm doing is healing with me. Like I'm healing with you guys. Like whoever's on the show, whatever story we're talking about, we're healing together. So even listening to other people's story, understanding what they're going through has also helped me be able to just have just be more humble and also be able to just have a better understanding of life and people in general. So on your journey of just being able to have and build these connections, I know a lot of people, a lot of people, I noticed, and I don't think I was like that, but a lot of people, some people that get into like journalism and or writing are really introverts. They don't really like to, like you said, right? So in just doing what you're doing, was there a scenario that has happened in your life where you was able to get a healing word or a healing connection with someone after you heard their story?
Yeah, so just recently, a few months ago, um, there was a woman who we were doing a story on. She's in her 60s, like late 60s, and she lives in a condo with her mom, who she helps to take care of.
Mm.
Her mom is wheelchair bound. And so, she was paying her bills, et cetera, but her landlord and her condo association got into a battle over her rent and basically put her in the middle of a situation that had nothing to do with her. And she was almost kicked out of her home. And she didn't know where she was going to go. Of course, she was really stressed about it. So we did this story with her, and we interviewed her. And, she was very tearful during the interview. And when I was sitting with her afterwards, as, our cameraman was moving the equipment, so we had a few minutes, she was just saying how she knows that her faith is going to get her through this.
Yeah.
And she was saying how, she was asking me what my faith was, and I told her I was a Muslim, and she said that she was a Jehovah's Witness. And my mother grew up Jehovah's Witness. My grandmother is a Jehovah's Witness, so I'm fairly familiar with it. And I shared that with her, and she was just saying how, Jehovah is going to get me through this. And I'm like, absolutely, and even though we call God by a different name, we serve the same God.
Yes.
And so I feel like that is such a basis that really helps me to connect with people. Because there was another story that we did where it was a teenage football player. He became paralyzed during his first varsity game. He got hit really bad. He was in the hospital. He was paralyzed. So we went to his hospital room to interview his mom, and he ended up speaking with us as well. But she talked about her faith as well.
Yeah.
And it just does something to me when people talk about that. It really just opens up my heart, even though my heart was already open to them, but it does it even more. And it just is a constant reminder that faith in God will get you through anything. The faith the size of a mustard seed, as Jesus says, you can move mountains. Just a small, tiny mustard seed, you can move mountains with. So, all of us get into these situations where we may feel like this mountain is so huge in our lives.
Yeah.
But sometimes it takes looking at other people and learning from other people and seeing their stories and saying, look what they're doing. Like, he's paralyzed, right? I am able to move my limbs. I was blessed this morning to wake up, to be able to walk, to be able to, brush my teeth, do whatever I need to do, but he's going through such a deep trial, yet he's still able to smile. And he said, when he spoke to us, he was like, I didn't think I was going to smile, but I am smiling.
Yeah.
Like, yes, you are smiling. Smile too.
Yes.
So, different situations, it's like, man, look what they're going through.
Yeah.
But look how God is getting them through it. And so it's always a reminder. It's always an inspiration. It's always so filling to my heart when I'm able to see these kinds of stories and talk to these people. And it just makes me so honored to talk to them as well. And, I thank them for sharing their story with us, because you're going through this. You don't have to talk to me. You don't have to share your story, but yet you are, so that we can show it to other people. So that, just those small interactions, without even me addressing maybe what I might be going through, just hearing their stories it's almost purifying for me. Just hearing it, and I don't completely understand always what might be going on and when I feel like my heart is being open to them. But it's just such a pure thing that happens for me, and it's purifying, and it's very inspiring. It reminds me of faith in Allah and how that can push us through absolutely anything that we encounter.
Oh my gosh. Oh my God. Them are some beautiful stories. I can, oh, praise be to Allah. I love stories like that as well. It like I had said before, it humbles me, to see that even though you don't went through these things, look how you're persevering through it. So there's no excuse. I have no excuse, right? Because long as you have faith in God, I mean, you're good. Honestly, like just having that faith. And was this last week? Minister Ishmael was, oh Lord, the Minister Ishmael.
Yep.
Oh girl, he was talking
Right here, speaking to my soul, literally.
Girl, I have to go back and listen to it again.
Yeah.
Say, why he doing this?
Right.
Praise be to Allah. So yes, praise be to Allah. I see here that we have a question here from our brother Tony Muhammad. Praise be to Allah. All right, so Assalamu alaikum, dear sister Janiah. Besides some of the stories you have mentioned thus far, what have been some of the most memorable stories that you have written about over the years that have impacted you?
Thank you, Brother Tony. Brother Tony is someone who continues to push me always. So I'm always grateful for Brother Tony.
Yes.
So some of the most memorable stories. One of them was one that I did for the final call a few years back. It was about the sugarcane that they burn in Belle Glade, which is an area of Florida. And what happens is that they basically burn the sugarcane as a way to kind of get rid of it. But they burn it near a very an area that's heavily populated by Black people. And so it has caused air quality issues. It has caused, the ash coming down through that community. And I wasn't able to travel there to go see it, but I was very moved by what some environmental groups were doing to try and stop this from happening. That one and the way that I wrote that one and some of the feedback that I got from it was really impactful to me. Another one that I did for the Miami Times was, I can't remember which hurricane it was, but it was one that came through this area. And a lot of, that was a cover story for the final call at that time. And a hurricane came through and there was a lot of debris that had been left in the area. So cleanup, crews were coming through to clean up the area, but the area that they were dumping all of this trash in, it was a huge mound of trash. I mean, like mountains of trash. Also by a heavily populated Black area. So that was one of the first times that I was like, okay, I'm going to be like a man on the street, kind of like a journalist, put my boots on the ground. So, to talk to these people, I went to the apartment complex. I was really next door to it. People were complaining about the noise. They were complaining about the scent. They were complaining that they had to step out of their doors and see all this trash stacked up, literally yards away from where they were living. So I went to people, I knocked on their doors, I talked to them about, this issue that they were having. We reached out to the city, et cetera. And, that experience, I feel like I grew a lot as a journalist. And again, being able to talk to people face to face about what they were dealing with. That one. And then recently, literally just last week, we did a follow-up to a story where there was a father, he's 35, and he found out that he was in stage 4 of kidney disease. So his kidneys were failing him. He had just had a son a few months before. So he and his wife were very scared because his kidney was operating on like 5%. And he was like, he didn't know what he was going to do. his neighbor, who he's very close to and who is also a firefighter, literally said, "I'm going to give you my kidney." And it was, they had, like, there was no second thought for him on whether or not he was going to give him his kidney. So they had the surgery back in December. They were a perfect match. There were no incompatibilities between the two. And so they said that had he come a day later, he would have had to be on dialysis. He would have put him on dialysis, like just like that, because his blood was so impure. But they were able to do the surgery. They recovered. They're doing very well. So that one was very heartwarming because their community is just such, it just makes me think about what we want to do, as a nation, how we want to, a community, where their homes are, your neighbor.
Yes.
These days, we don't even know who lives to the left or to the right of us.
Yes.
But they're really like a family. Their community is really like a family. And so it was a very heartwarming story. So those are some that come to mind immediately.
Oh my gosh. I almost had a tear come out my eye about that last story about the kidney. Oh my gosh. And just the fact of how he was able to call on someone, or you said it was his neighbor, right?
Yeah, and he didn't even ask, he was sharing the news like,
Okay.
"Hey guys, I have kidney failure, et cetera, et cetera." And as he was saying it, his neighbor was on his phone looking up, how do I donate a kidney? So it was just like instant, that
Yes.
hey, I'll give you my kidney, So
now listen, a lot of people will probably have to think hard about that.
Yeah.
But the love that he just probably had for that man, and whatever the situation may have been, that made him just instantly like, you know what, I'm going to do it. And honestly, when you think about the work that we're doing in a nation, at the end of the day, in whatever way that we're doing it, we are out here trying to save our people in whatever capacity that we can. So that was just so beautiful. I can only imagine. And also, just with, you said that was was that a follow-up that you did with the?
Yeah, we just did the follow-up where we talked to them because they did the surgery back in December. So now that they recovered, then we went back and talked to them, how are you doing? Things of that nature. So that was just last week that we did that.
Oh, wow. So with that, like, I'm pretty sure you probably had other encounters. Like, have you been able to build like a personal relationship with certain people that you've done interviews with?
There have been some people that I've kept in contact with who have also become like mentors to me, that, help me to just be a better journalist, or people who I can go back to reference different questions or different issues that I may be facing. Because, as a journalist, I don't have like a specific beat or like a specific topic that I cover. I cover various things. So I encounter things where I'm like, I don't know what this is about, So there are some people that I have to, call on and ask for help in those regards when I encounter certain areas that I don't know anything about. So yes, and then some people, if they have, maybe I did a story with them before, and I'll encounter them a lot, depending on if I'm continuing to cover that story, or if they have another story that they want us to cover. So yes, ma'am.
Oh, wow. So beautiful. Praise be to Allah. I know it's like I feel like we're really doing the same thing, but you're a journalist. And it's different names, because I feel where you're coming from, being able to build these connections, listening to different people's, for me, healing stories, and healing stories for you too. It's the same. So like, I definitely can feel and understand just the impact that it has had on you. So praise be to Allah, sis. Now, how has journaling, writing, being a journalist, how has this helped you get through healing from any past or current trials?
Mhm. Um, so I remember years ago there was someone who told me that they believed that Allah gave me writing as a way for me to heal. And at that time, that really hit me because I had never thought of it that way. Um, and so, when you write things down, it definitely makes it more real, and it almost feels like when you write it down, since it's in, like, you can see it, as opposed to just it being a thought in your mind. When you write it down, you can see it. It's like you're impressing it into reality.
Yes.
Um, so for me, when there's certain things or truths about myself that I know that I need to face, then
Mm.
it's a lot better when I write it down, because it's like, okay, this is real, whether I like it or not, it's real. So now how do I encounter it? How do I face it? How do I fix it? And that's where journaling has come into play for me. And actually writing down what it is that I'm truly feeling without worrying about if someone is going to see it, if someone is going to judge it. It's me just being real, raw, and honest, really, with myself and with Allah.
Yeah.
Because, it's just us two looking at it.
Yes.
So that's one way. And then even with stories that may not be based on reality, but fictional type stories. Sometimes I look back at what I wrote and I'm like, why did I write that?
Mm.
Or why am I focusing on this specific theme or this specific topic within the stories that I write? And that has been an eye opener for me, because it's helped me to see that either maybe I'm worried about this issue, or maybe this is something I might be obsessing over without really realizing it, or maybe it's something that I just need to deal with. Um,
Yes.
and that's been a very unintentional thing, because I will write it out thinking, okay, this is just for me. This is just something fun that I want to write, whatever
Mhm.
that may be. But when I look back at some of the things that I write and I see specific themes or a constant stream of issues or whatever the case may be, then I see, okay, this is something that is a reality in my life.
Yes.
And then, with journalism in and of itself, of course, just like we talked about, just hearing different people's stories. But also for me recently, some aspects of my job have been extremely challenging for me.
Mhm.
And it's brought up personal challenges that I face that are now presenting themselves within my work.
Mm.
And so that as well has forced me to look at different aspects of myself, so that I'm not running away from it, but, self-improvement, of course.
Mm.
So I feel like those things are things that just happen. They're not intentional. And there are situations in life that force you to face whatever it is that maybe you don't see or maybe you can't see, and they help you to improve. There are people around you, who will point out different things about you that you might not be able to see, that forces you to heal. So really, whether it be just writing for fun or journaling or journalism, all of it has been really a mirror for me, into maybe personal things that I may be struggling with that are presenting themselves in more outward ways.
I'm speechless right now. And the only reason I'm speechless right now, you guys, and I really want to cry. I'm sorry, you guys, because like when I say I've been journaling since I was a young girl. I always loved writing. I always had me little journals. If I can go back to my mom's house and look in a closet somewhere, I probably got journals stacked to the ceiling. And just recently, I've been taking time out the year to just go back and just look at things that I wrote and noticing, like you said, like I'm starting to notice certain things about myself that unintentionally I'm just writing, like, but I'm like, something's wrong, or there's a cycle here that I'm noticing. So I love the simple fact that you said that it's like a mirror, being able to just see things that you may not have been able to see before, or help, or being able to help you in certain ways to help you self-improve. I love the idea of writing, being able to actually put it on paper and making it real and making it realistic. Honestly, I do that a lot. Anywhere I go, I have me a little notepad. um because it's more than just having it on your mind. You really have to actually, it's different when you write it. If you like to write, and you like me and my sister Janiah, then you understand we got to write it down, because it's more than just keeping it in your mind. So that was just beautiful. I almost had a tear in my eyes because I felt that so much. And just with things that I've been through as a young girl and growing up, and my way of escaping was just to write it down.
Right. Yeah.
Me and a lie. Because no one, me, is like, so, and I told myself, and I don't know if this is probably something you thought about, but I told myself that I want to have all my journals put up in some type of safe. And when I lie, when it's that time, then my son or my children can go back and look at things that mommy wrote, just to get an understanding of me, or dive in deeper to what mommy was going through in this time. So you just hit me there. I
And
love you, sis.
I like how you mentioned, the cycles, because a lot of us definitely repeat a lot of the same cycles. And like you said, I go back sometimes and I read stuff that I wrote years ago, and I'm like, I was still dealing with that back then. Like, why haven't I gotten to it yet?
Yes.
So it's like, okay, I need to buckle down and deal with this part because I was writing about this 5 years ago. So it does help you to see, like your growth and your development, over a period of time, for sure.
Oh my gosh. Yes. So I felt that. Our praises due to Eliza. And if you are enjoying this episode just as well as I am, please, please, please show your support by donating today to Healing with Angelica to help sustain future episodes just like this. Inshallah, I'm trying to make this year better than all the years. We going on 2 years of having Healing with Angelica coming in March. So to help keep this going, please show your support by donating to Healing with Angelica to help sustain future episodes just like this. Also, have to give a big shout out to Closing the Gap Broadcast for allowing me to share space on their platform. So grateful. So please, 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 if you like all of their shows on there, because it's not just me, we got a whole lot of different shows on there. So please show your support as well by donating today. Information to donate is on the screen below. I love you all. Now let's get back to today's episode, the artful craft of journalistic expression with my beautiful sister, Janiah X. So I want to dive a little bit deeper. I like to get deep here. So I want to dive a little deeper now. Again, we recently spoke, and you mentioned that you lost your mother when you were 16. May Allah be pleased with your mother. I wanted to know, like, how has being a journalist helped you cope with the loss of your mother?
So I would say that when journaling, a lot of things come up. And you realize that there may be some things that you maybe thought that you had healed from, that you really didn't, or that you hadn't completed that healing journey, which, what does that mean anyway, that you completed, the healing journey. But I think for me, looking at situations in my life and having the thought of, that I wish I could ask my mom how she dealt with this, or I wish I could find out if she went through this, or, I wonder what she would say. Um, and I've found that through journaling, sometimes those things would come up for me. Um, and it has helped me to see that there's still more work to be done in dealing with the loss of my mother. There have been people that I've been able to connect with through my work who have experienced loss on a level like that, or who experience loss at a young age. And it's been a good experience to speak with people who have gone through that because they understand that level of loss. And for me, it's always been reminding myself that I'm grateful that I had my mom and the kind of mother that I had at the time in my life that I did. That yes, I did lose her. She returned to Allah back, when I was 16 years old. But, I'm grateful for the time that I had with her. And I'm grateful for the lessons that she imparted on me during that time. But it was truly after that she passed that I got to know her on the level that I feel like I know her now. A level that I've been able to understand her on, a deeper level that I've been able to understand her on more so now than when she was here. And I remember, after she passed, there were a lot of letters that came in, a lot of letters that came in from her coworkers, from, friends that she knew, etc., who all just talked about how such a beautiful person that she was and all of the amazing things that she helped them through. Things that I would never know, had they not sent those letters. And we still have those letters to this day, but it was such a reminder and such a beautiful reflection of who she was outside of me just knowing her as mommy, but who she was to when she was at work, when she was gone for all those hours during the day, her interactions with her coworkers and how she helped them to get through what they were going through. So I think for me, there's a lot that continues. There's work that still needs to be done for me on that end. But I think gratitude has been the biggest part, or one of the biggest healers. And watching how Allah took care of my family after she passed, then that showed me Allah's love for her. That showed me Allah's love for our family and for, just us being, I pray, in his bosom, and really just how he took care of us, and how a lot of things could have gone left, but they didn't, because he was with us. So yeah, just being grateful of who she was, and the things that I can continue to see about her, and how I can continue to know her through different sisters in the mosque who she was close to, who share with me different experiences that they had with her, and different stories that they can recall from her, etc. So yeah, I think that, the gratitude and the reflecting on the blessings that Allah really imparted on us has been a great healer for me in that regard.
Praise be to Allah, sis. I can only imagine what you went through and what you're still maybe going through in regards to losing your mother. One thing that I love that you said, and I think a lot of us we kind of forget, that, at the end of the day, you know, everything happens, through Allah's will, and once we understand that, and as well as just being grateful and grateful to even have, you know, your mother in your presence in that time, and or anyone you may have lost in that time, and just embracing and being grateful just for the experience. Because one thing I've learned, because I dealt with a loss years ago. I lost my son, um, going on what it was like 7-8 years ago. I had a hard time accepting it. I was upset with God at that time. I didn't understand, but as time went on, I got a better understanding, and I became grateful for even having that experience that I had, with my son at that time. And also just being able to just have an understanding, because us as Muslims, we know that, it's either Allah's, will or permissive will, everything works through him. So we also have gratitude and understanding, and know that at the end of the day that, you know, um, everything happens for a reason, and we're going to embrace it, and we're going to keep going and keep moving on. Now, with that level of a loss, everybody has a certain level of loss, and I love that you said that it's a different level of loss. We've all experienced loss, but on what level have you really experienced? Because in some levels, it may be harder to get through it than any, other loss you may have experienced. But just with you saying that, that you have things that you still have to work on, I just love that even in that you see you're grateful, the gratitude, because you're able to still have this connection with your mom from other people, from the experiences that your mom went through with other people, and building those connections. So I just love that. Our praise is due to Allah, sis. Now, before we get, this is getting so juicy. This is why I love doing this. It's healing for me. Okay, so this is my therapy session. So you're my therapist today, Janiah. Okay. Praise be to Allah. So I wanted to ask now, everybody should know about this famous newspaper. Come on, if y'all don't know nothing about this newspaper, no. No. Now, how has your experience been working with the best newspaper on the planet? Final Call newspaper.
That has been an amazing experience. First of all, so my favorite time, being at Savior's Day, I have the opportunity to work with the Final Call, right? And just watching how they do it during Savior's Day is really, really a sight to see. You have all of these writers who, are covering workshops, drill competition, Sunday lecture, etc. They're covering every event that happens at Savior's Day. And so they're getting their pieces in, the same day, doing the interviews, etc. And then you have the photographers who are literally taking thousands of photos at Savior's Day. And they are coming back to the Final Call room, dumping the photos, and then going back out to take more, dumping the photos, going back out to take more, etc. But, those who do the layout and everything of the paper, they're doing it in real time, and they're trying to do it in a manner in which they can get it to the minister so that he can look at it before, they go to print. So it really is a beast. It's a machine, and everybody who works with the Final Call on that level is just amazing. But, also during Savior's Day, when we have different meetings and things of that nature, we have heard some beautiful stories about, covering the minister, way back when, or, being part of the Final Call and the different kinds of events that some of those who really are veteran writers and veteran photographers that they've been able to cover, whether it be Of the Minister or the Million Man March and different events and different circumstances that have happened that are really history making. So if you ever find anyone who is part of the final call, definitely pick their brain if you have the opportunity, because they've seen and they've witnessed some amazing things. I first started in 2015 when the minister was doing his Justice or Else tour. And he came to Miami to speak at a historically Black church down here. And some of the events that were leading up to it, you know, I remember there was a sister who helped me to introduce myself to the editor-in-chief of the Final Call. And he put me right to work. You know, he was like, okay, this is what you're going to do. You know, you're going to go out, reactions, talk to the people who are waiting in line outside to hear the minister speak. And those have been some of the best interactions that I've had as well, because they're talking about, you know, of course, these are people who are not registered members of the nation. They may have heard the minister a while ago and may have decided to come, or they may have seen the flyer on social media and decided to just come see what it was all about. But just some of the stories that these people share about why they came to hear the man of God, you know, and you see how Allah pulls on us in different ways to bring us to hear the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And so it's been an incredible experience. And I've also had the pleasure of interviewing on Sundays during Savior's Day, those who sit on the stage, some of those who sit on the stage, you know, while the minister is speaking. And, you know, you're hearing from these people how the minister has impacted them and how he has touched them. And it shows us, you know, the minister's words, they impact us no matter how young or how old we may be, no matter how rich or how poor or how famous or how not famous we may be. You know, his words really, what's the word? They penetrate to literally the soul. He speaks to the soul and he speaks to the God within us. And it's just so amazing being able to hear how people came to hear him, because Allah uses something personal for each and every one of us. It's what may attract me, may not attract you.
Yes.
Why I joined the Nation of Islam may not be why you joined the Nation of Islam. But Allah knows each and every one of us on such a beautiful and individual level that he calls us, you know, in whichever way that we're going to hear the call. So, you know, it's been such an amazing experience to be able to work with the Final Call and have the honor and pleasure to learn from these believers who are so passionate about telling the stories of our people and of our community and capturing history at Savior's Day, because they are working round the clock to be able to capture this history so that we have the pleasure of looking back on it. So it's been just an amazing, amazing experience.
Oh my gosh. I got the chills of you even talking about it. Like, ooh, so exciting. Oh, you guys, listen. Support the Final Call newspaper. They are working hard to give us the news that we need, the stories that we need. Oh my gosh, I love it. Praise be to Allah. I noticed one thing that you had said, because I remember you saying that, you know, this kind of took you out your introverted stage. So I just wanted to know, like, how were you able to, I don't know if it was a fast adjustment, but how are you able to get yourself out of being uncomfortable going up to people, speaking to them? Because I still be nervous myself just going up to people, like, you know. So how did you like work that out?
I don't know. Honestly, I just did it, you know. It really was a okay, I need to get so and so to talk to me about such and such so I can have an article to write, you know.
Okay.
And obviously at Savior's Day, it's a little easier because, you know, we're all believers. I haven't had a bad experience with anyone, you know, telling me to go away or anything like that, you know, and the believers want to support the final call, and they want to share their thoughts about whether it be a workshop or what the minister shared, or anything of that nature. You know, even some of the people on Sundays, during Savior's Day who, you know, aren't registered, but who came to hear the minister maybe for the first time, or who someone brought them along, you know, they've been eager to share their thoughts on what they heard the minister say. So, you know, going up to people, I think I've accepted that this is part of my job and I'm going to be doing this for the rest of my life.
Yes.
So let me just go on ahead and do it. And I'm always grateful, and I'm always rewarded when I do, because people just have some amazing things to say, and they drop things in your mind that maybe you never thought about, or, you know, they have different expressions, you know, and it's just, I just love hearing people talk about, you know, the things that light them up, or I love hearing them share how they heard about the minister and, you know, what they thought about what he said. And, you know, oh, this point that he said, you know, it really stuck with me because X, Y, and Z, and et cetera, you know, so I just do it, you know?
Yes.
You just got to do it.
Oh, you sound like me. Just do it. Because
Right.
I just had to do it. You know, this is what I want to do. So praise be to Allah. And I also was just thinking, like, wow, what you're doing is absolutely rewarding. Like, just being able to just, oh my God, just listening to all these stories about how the minister impacted so many people's life or their lives. Like, I can only imagine how warming and exciting that is for you just to hear it. And oh, that's just beautiful. I'm, like I said, I'm getting the chills right now just thinking about it. Like, because he's everything, and he gives us all a healing word. And I'm glad that you mentioned it. And I didn't know how to say this, but you said it perfectly. Like, he is able to connect with us in different ways. Like, what brought me into the nation may not have brought you in the nation. You know, with me, it was just him talking about the woman. I needed that in that time in my life because I didn't know who I was.
Right.
But when he said it and he put it in depth, and then, oh my gosh, I said, oh, where is this man? Where is he at? Oh, Lord, where is he at? So, and you know, everybody got their own things that they go through that bring them to him. You know, if it's drugs, sex, alcohol, loss of a loved one, he's able to resonate with us all on the same level, but in different ways. So, whew, I'm getting the chills talking about him. Oh, girl, listen, praise be to Allah. Sister Janiah, I have one more question before we end today's show. Now, what advice would you give to someone who may be afraid to take their writing gifts to a new level?
The advice that I would give is that, you know, the minister talks about how Allah didn't cheat out any one of us. He gave each and every one of us a gift. But that gift isn't meant for us to keep it to ourselves. That gift is meant to glorify him. We should constantly, like the minister teaches us, be in search of our purpose, be in search of how can I multiply this gift that Allah gave me to help him in his cause, because that's why we're here, you know, to help him in achieving the kingdom that he is to create. And so really keeping that in the forefront of our minds and knowing that the gift isn't necessarily for ourselves, but it's for other people. Of course, it serves us, you know, in other ways, but the greater value in it is how many people it touches and how many people it impacts and how many people we can bring to the minister through that gift and bring to bring to the minister so that he can bring them to Allah, through that gift. So really stepping out of ourselves and stepping out of our own minds and our own insecurities, or our own fears, and having that faith, just like we talked about in the beginning, because Allah's not going to give you something and not give you the tools to be able to handle what he gave you, not only to be able to handle it, but to be able to maximize it and bring it to its greatest value, the way that it can serve his people.
Yes.
So really stepping out of ourselves and stepping into him, that helps us to realize that it's not about me. It's not about if I think somebody's gonna not like what I have to present, or if somebody's gonna judge what I have to present. They might, but we're all in a growing stage, and just because we have a gift doesn't mean that we don't have to work on it. This craft that we have, writing, I love to write, but sometimes it's a battle because the words don't want to come out, or my thoughts don't want to do what it's supposed to do. And it becomes a challenge instead of becoming something that's, maybe meditative for me, or whatever the case may be. So, stepping out of ourselves and stepping into what Allah wants us to do, it helps us to just do it. It helps us to move past everything and say, okay, Allah, this is what you gave me. This is what you said in your word for me to do. Then let me go on ahead and do it. So just let's get out of our heads, because that's really what's holding us back. And then Allah will send us the help that we need, as long as we go out in his way, that he will send us the help that we need in order to improve and in order to get better and perfect what we have. But the more that we focus on him, the more that we can do, because the more we come out of Satan telling us that we can't do this, or that this isn't good enough, or whatever the case may be. So just focus on Allah and what he wants you to do.
Oh my goodness, Janiah. That was so beautiful. I don't know why I'm just feeling this way, but I'm feeling really, really good and inspired by what you said this whole show. Praise be to Allah. We gotta get out of our heads. Because that's what's going to get you to do it. Because even in those times when we don't feel like doing it, I don't want to do it. You like doing it. This is what you want to do. This is your purpose. But it's times when you don't want to do it, but you still go out here and do it because it's not for you.
Right.
You're not doing this for you. You're doing this for Allah. You got to go out here and get the people in whatever creative way that Allah has put on your heart to do. And I'm so glad you brought that up, sister. I'm going to make that into a quote.
Nice.
Go ahead and quote all of that, because there's a lot of us, we get stuck in what it is that we want. And how we want things to go.
Yep.
And because we don't see it happening, or it's not going the way that we want it to go, it can deter us from doing it a lot of the times. Like, I'm gonna be honest, like even the first part of January, I took a little small break because I started school. So like I said, you are my first episode for the year, girl, and you are on fire. So, but just with me, like I gotta go find people to be guests. I gotta make sure I'm scheduling people, writing and editing, and make sure this, and then like sometimes you're like, okay, but I love doing it. I love doing this, but I'm like, but getting on this show with you today reminded me why I am doing this, because this is not for me. I'm doing this because this is for Allah, and this is my way of being able to reach and get our people. So, praise be to Allah. Give my sister Janiah some flowers today. She did a beautiful job. You spoke so well today. I just want to thank you so, so much for joining me today to discuss this beautiful topic, the artful craft of journalistic expression. I would also like to thank my amazing audience and healing tribe for joining us today. I pray that this episode was informative, valuable, and of course, and always healing to you all. Also, be sure to share, like, follow, and subscribe so you don't miss out on any upcoming episodes on any of your favorite podcast station. Closing the Gap broadcast on Facebook, CTG broadcast on YouTube, and of course, Healing with Angelica podcast on Facebook and YouTube to help spread this message of healing to those in need. Also, if you are ready to start your healing journey and don't know where to start, Healing with Angelica is offering one-on-ones to help get you started on your healing journey. More information to schedule will be in the information box below. Also, show you guys my Healing Tribe merch that we have here, just a few items that we have here. Then we have some of our beautiful customers rocking the Healing Tribe merch. Come on, we got Brother Tony. There go my Brother Tony right there. There you go, brother. All right. Yep. Praise be to Allah, my beautiful sister. Our praise is due to Allah. Please, please, please show your support by purchasing not Healing Angelica merch, Healing Tribe merch by Healing with Angelica to also help and sustain future episodes. Remember, any purchases that you guys make, again, will help sustain and support future episodes with Healing with Angelica. So just please keep that in mind. Also, if anyone you know or yourself are in need of prayer, Healing with Angelica would like to send a special prayer to you. And you can do this by emailing us at healwithangelica@yahoo.com. Also, before we end today's show, I would like to give a beautiful small mantra for today. Let me see if I can add it on here because I had it on here. Let me see here. Y'all have to see this mantra I have. Give me a moment. Oh, here it goes right here. About to add it. All right. So, our mantra for today: breathe in faith, exhale fear. With every breath, I am feeling a rush of hope come into my body. With every exhale, I am releasing negativity. I am distancing myself from the lies my ego is telling me. I am listening to God instead. All praises is due to Allah. Sister Janiah, you answered the last question so beautifully, but we're not done. Sister Janiah, before we end today's show, do you have any closing remarks for our audience today? And please let our audience know where we can find you, any, products or anything that you got going on. Let our audience know what my sister got going on.
First and foremost, thank you so much again for inviting me and allowing me to share my story. That in and of itself is very healing, to talk it out. So thank you so much for that. And, just continue doing what you're doing. You have such a unique expression and it's so beautiful and so very nourishing as well. So thank you so much for that. I'm very active on Instagram, just at Naya A. I believe it was scrolling earlier. But that's usually where I might share some stories or different things that I might be doing, whether it be with the final call or Joshua's Truth or any other platform. So that's all. And I pray the very best for everyone to have a peaceful rest of your new year and to go after anything it is that you want to do. And may Allah be with you in that. So thank you so much again.
Yes, now thank you so much for your beautiful words. Again, I am grateful to have you on the show. Your story was healing to me. That's, like I said, this is a therapy session for me too. So I am so grateful to have the chance to talk to you and you share your story with us today. So I pray you all have a great rest of your day. Thank you all for joining us today. And we leave you all as we came. Assalamu alaikum. Peace, healing, and light.